Hey everybody, how you doing? Canada Chris here. Um, she laughs because I always start the damn intro the same way every time. What I'm making videos because I have to. Why is it always the same intro? So people can understand that I am Canada Chris and I'm 36 years and I've spent 36 years in Canada and now I've moved back to Serbia with my Serbian wife and her family. Yeah, well, eventually people will get to know me, but I only have like 7 subscribers right now, so give it a break. All right. So beautiful intro today. I wanted to talk about health and fitness. I keep making this video and I'm not sure what direction that I want to take, but I'm going to start with making a small story, and if we like it, we're going to go on to bigger, deeper stories. Okay. So when I started my whole health and fitness journey, I was like 12 years old. Okay. I was 220 pounds. I was 5 foot something or whatever, because I've been 6 foot 1 at my tallest in life. So I was a fat little kid basically, right? Like double triple chin, and I lost weight effectively by starving myself. This was a conscious decision, and I didn't really have access to the internet. I did not spend time on the internet. I'm old enough that I remember a time without the internet, like pre 1996, 1998. So in 1996, I was like 12 years old, and the most experience that I had with computers was Hotmail, which is like MSN or whatever the case now, or like anyways. And I remember like having an email address, and I would like send emails to my friends at the community center where we had a computer. Anyways, so the fitness journey started there, and basically I was bullied, and people were like, hey, like you're so fat, whatever, blah blah. Anyways, so I decided to lose weight, and my idea was just to like cut all the junk food, all the bad stuff, basically kind of like starve myself of like any sugar, fat, boxed foods, chips, pop, candy, any of that kind of junk, and walk every day. And so when we graduated that year, like in June or whatever the case, I just walk everywhere all the time, and I ended up losing a whole bunch of weight, like in a I don't know. I'm so old that I kind of like forget sometimes, but like I was like 220 pounds and I'd gone down like 100 and 140, 150 or something like that. I became like super super thin, and I was like that up until I was like 16 or 17. So I must have lost like 50, 60, 70 pounds in the span of 3 to 6 months, right? So anyways, I'll just leave it there. But and so the first lesson that I learned when I was young was that if you want to lose weight, you need to move and you need to eat less. That was basically what I had taught myself in life. This was just a life lesson that I had learned. And I think it was a good one because it really helped me understand that calorie in, calorie out is a very real thing, 100%. So if you're going to drink your calories and you're going to drink pop, I mean, I've seen people blow up to 350 pounds because they drink 8 liters of Pepsi a day. Do I think that everybody should starve themselves? No, not necessarily. Do I think that everybody on the planet has an issue with calorie in, calorie out? No. I understand that there's hormonal stuff, and I can get into that. But my first lesson was eat less, move more, and then the weight comes off. Now, as I started getting older, I ended up realizing that there's many different types of health. I believe that there are 6 aspects to life. It's physical, vocational, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual. These are the 6 things that govern your life, and these things all have varying levels of health in them. You can have spiritual health or emotional health or mental health, and obviously health is kind of like this thing that I guess if I had to describe health, I would say there's this box of an expectation of what you can and can't do, in your life as a human being, and anything that's too far outside of the box is probably unhealthy. So, let's take like mental health as an example. Good mental health would be like someone who is self-aware and understands themselves, and is able to kind of like see the world for what it is to a certain extent, and has varying balances of happiness and sadness, is never too sad that it becomes like a depression, or never too happy that it becomes kind of like manic and crazy. So you're in this box, and the lines move a little bit, but you kind of move inside your box, and everything's good. That's what I would consider health. And when you start getting outside of the box in any of these six aspects, you end up getting onto like the edge, or like the fringe of something, and that can become dangerous, because when it starts to impact the life of people around you, or your life, in a way that would be negative, I would call that a lack of health. So a lack of mental health would be, you're so manic that um, uh, you can't hold like relationships properly, because you're always like pushing and forcing the button on people all the time, and you're sucking their energy. You're like an emotional vampire. If you're too manic, it's you're too upset about how your environment is, and so anybody coming into your environment is like an attack on you, and things like this. And you not being able to regulate or control these types of things would be a lack of health. And so that obviously goes for the six aspects. Like if you're not physically healthy, you are not capable of walking up or down stairs without getting winded. You can't play with your children. Going for a walk would be something that would like frighten you or hurt you. There'd be some kind of like fear or pain involved, because you're not physically fit enough. You don't have physical health enough to be able to go operate as a regular normal human being, which I think normal for most people should be. Not that it is, especially in the West, but it should be like, can you sit down and stand up? I've seen humans when I was doing personal training, okay, for a big box gym in Canada called GoodLife. GoodLife is the creator of the association which kind of governs health and fitness in Canada for the most part, through certifications and all kinds of stuff. It's called CanFit Pro, Canadian Fitness Professionals. So I worked with them. I got my certification. I worked with them for a year, and there was this one guy. His name was Guy, and he was this French guy who, when he was younger, for a very long period of his time, he was a sailor. And so he was on boats, and he would do all kinds of sailor stuff, which I don't really understand. But and from what I'm understanding, the majority of the physical stuff that he would do was a lot of pulling. And when you're pulling the ropes and pulling sails and pulling people and pulling whatever it is that you're pushing and pulling, especially if you're not doing it like trying to understand body mechanics, but rather just like doing it to get a job done, you will grow certain muscles out of proportion. And so he had a very big chest and shoulders and back, and he was like this all the time. And this poor guy was, I don't know, probably in his like 50s, 60s, like late 50s or like mid 60s or something. And he had come to me, and he when we had the consultation, I remember it was like a Saturday morning, and I almost missed the consultation, and I was almost like disinterested in the situation before I even knew him, or whatever the case. And we sit down at the table, and he starts telling me this story, this emotional story. He's like, I've tried this and I've tried that, and I've hurt myself, and I went to CrossFit, and they tried to do this with me, and I hurt my shoulders and I hurt my back and all this stuff. And I was like, Gee, and I'm like, personal training is personal. Like, I want to know your story. And I was like, hearing all of this makes me like ridiculously terrified and sad that people are treating you this way. And I was like, can I just be honest with you for a second? He's like, yes. And I said, before anything, I said, if you're in this much pain and all this stuff, you need to be comfortable that what you're doing is going to help you feel good. And I said, whatever feel good means for you, that's what we need to achieve. And I said, so what is the thing that's causing you the most pain in your regular life, like in your day to day, And so he told me one story. Um, he said, when I go to get in my car, he goes, I can't sit in my car. He goes, I've got to like waddle up, and I open the door, and he's like, like stretching to open the door is like terrible. And he goes, I have to like lean against the car and like slide myself in, and like I'll bump myself or bump my head, and I like plop into the seat, and I'm gonna like pull my legs into the vehicle. And I was like, I was like, yeah, I'm like, that's terrible. And I said, that's the first thing we're gonna fix, you know. And I said, so when it comes to, I don't know where this story was coming from, but I told him, I said, when it comes to your health, I said, you need to feel like a man. You need to be able to operate properly in your life. And so I just got him to do one test. And I said, I just want you to like sit down on the ground and then get back up. And the first time that he did this, it took him like 10 minutes. It was pathetic to watch. With all due respect to Guy, it was pathetic to watch, because this is, a 50, 60-year-old man who, for all, intents and purpose, should be able to get down on the ground and back up. I mean, as a human being, if he were to fall and be on the ground, this could be devastating for his health, physically, mentally, and otherwise, right? And so I watched him. We took it nice and slow, and he showed me how he would get down and how he would get back up. So I trained with him for like 3, 4, 5 months or something. It wasn't too long, because this was towards the end of when I had left. But by the end of it, Guy was more than capable of getting up and down off of the ground, in and out of his car. I remember one day, he did the man cry, like that cry that men don't like shed a tear or whatever. But he was like, you know, this morning I got in my car, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And he goes, I really like you, Chris. And then he like gets up and walks away. Just thinking about it makes me kind of fucking sad. But so health for a human being is pretty obvious, right? You should be able to get up and down off the ground. You should be able to get in and out of the car. You should be able to walk around and do regular things. I think, well, this is 10 minutes. I told a good story. So if you want to know more about any stuff that I know about health and fitness, or my journey or whatever, go ahead and please leave a comment. I have very few followers. I'd like to get some kind of indication that there's something that you guys want to hear about, because I was using ChatGPT to like ask questions and stuff, and I'm not sure what to talk about. So let me know.